Life is all about relationships. Lovers, family, body, or money. How satisfied you are can be completely explained by how you relate to things around you. This is Sophie Jaffe, and together with my husband, Dr. Adi Jaffe, we are here to explore and teach you how to maximize your relationships and achieve a happier life. Let's get ignited.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Ignited Podcast. I'm Adi Jaffe.
And I'm Sophie Jaffe.
And we have a special announcement.
I
think we might have made it last week.
Yeah, we've been talking about it, but we're just going to remind you again and get into it a little bit. We are heading to Seattle again, this time March 1st through 3rd, and we have 2 opportunities to do a couples workshop with us, either March 2nd on Saturday at one of their studios, Bala Yoga in Seattle,
Go Bala.
or March 3rd, that Sunday, another opportunity, or you could do both. And I'm teaching yoga that Friday night. So we're doing a hit vinyasa with a DJing on Friday night. And then Saturday and Sunday, you could come to one or both of those days.
Just come to both.
You and your couple. Yeah. If you
you're
can.
working on your relationship, just come to both.
Yeah. Jump in.
We're going to do, it's like a 3-hour workshop Saturday and a 3-hour workshop Sunday. Alexandra Roxo is with us.
Yep. She's awesome. Very up-leveling for us to like bring someone else in who can fill in all the gaps where we aren't like fully expanded in those areas yet. She's an expert in all things intimacy and sex and helping women to really expand into the most beautiful version of who they really are, which only helps their relationship.
Totally. So
join us. Come see us.
Valentine's just passed is a perfect post-Valentine's gift for your coupleship to really take it up to the next level, and as an indicator of how powerful this is, because we don't do a lot of in-person things anymore. We do them periodically, but today's fan of the week review is from Kron Kizzle. I love that name, Kron Kizzle. Forever grateful. I can't say enough about this podcast. Thank you, Adi and Sophie, for your brave vulnerability. I love this work. My husband and I are closer than ever. The concept, simple. The work, hard. So worth it. All you got to do is show up, be willing, and dig in. Thank you for this. XO. Honestly, y'all, just send me one of those a week, and I'll keep recording podcasts. Like for us, it's 100% about the impact, and so we're so happy that the podcast is able to deliver that. These in-person workshops are like next freaking level. It's amazing. It's going to be so much fun to be there for 2 workshops. Last time we could only do 1, and that sold out. So come join us in Seattle. We don't have another thing planned until maybe the spring. So it's like late spring. It's going to be a while before that happens.
It's going to be so much fun. Please join us.
Yeah, it'll be great. And I just recorded another episode right before this for Friday, so I'm recovery, etc. And the concept of spirituality came up. And today's episode, which is an interview I was there for just the bare beginning of, and then I had to run out, and Sophie did with one of our friends, Jenna Zoë.
Jenna's amazing. I mean, I'm sure if you follow me, you already are into Jenna because I talk about human design. I've talked about Jenna a good bit. We've known her for several years now. She's just one of those people that is just like a little fairy. She's so sweet. She has the best energy. She just fills me with so much joy and like genuine, just sweet joy. She's such a light to be around. And she unapologetically just allows me to be myself. She just brings out my best self when she's around. And I think that's a gift for someone to help you to feel more comfortable with who you are, and just something that I strive to bring out in other people. So go give her a follow and get ready for a really intense, beautiful reading. We got in pretty deep about the kids and me, and I think we read Noah. And this is a while ago that we did this recording. I don't know where it went, but it's perfect timing for it to emerge now as everything is. Perfect alignment. And she's just the best. And I am just excited for you guys to dig in deep and learn more about human design, and definitely book a session with her. I know she still takes private sessions, and you can do it. She lives across the pond, but you can book a virtual session with her. So
she's a Brit.
She's a Brit. She's so cute. Just want to eat her.
We're going to keep this a little short because this episode is super long.
Yeah, we could have gone on forever.
I walked out of the room and apparently they just kept talking.
We couldn't stop.
Forever.
You had actually came back into the room and then we were like, oh, maybe we should end this.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
We definitely could have kept talking all night. And that's what Jenna and I do. It's the most fun. And she's just, I can't say enough about her. So go check out this episode. Enjoy it. Book your own human design. It only helps you get to know yourself better and let go of the things that you've learned as you've come out of who you really are.
I think for me, even having these conversations, whether it's Jenna or other people, but really has allowed my expansion of what kind of information I bring in about my partner, about myself, or about people around me. You know, I come from the psychology field and we talked not a lot. They talked about like astrology and some of the scientific findings around that. And, you know, for the most part, most scientific findings talk about how the writings are general and just give you something to hold on to and grip so that you can connect to it. I used to look down at that and say, well, that's a problem because we want indelible truths, right? From the scientific academic mind, you want somebody to give you the outcome, the result, the certainty. And what Jenna talks about and what Jenna does around human design is really more about this sort of soft leanings, and here are your tendencies, and here are things that you're maybe better at than others, etc. And for me, that was really difficult to absorb at first, but I think it's really beautiful to hear this happening live and be able to, again, right, connect to whatever feels like it connects to you and it uplifts you and ignites you and provides you with inspiration. And then whatever doesn't, you can just let go. It's all good.
Yep.
So check this out. We're going to be back on the flip side. Stay for the whole thing. It's pretty amazing.
Mwah.
Bye.
This episode of the Ignited podcast is brought to you by Philosophy Superfoods. The Philosophy offers cleanses and other nutritional products that are unlike any of the other supplements and detoxification programs on the market. Why? Because they actually nourish the body with whole, live, nutrient-rich foods instead of depriving you and leaving you hungry. Have you ever tried a cleanse only to find out that you can't make it through a whole day because you're starving? Ever try a superfood shake that made you nauseous because it was so disgusting you'd rather not eat? The Philosophy fix all that with a simple set of offerings that load up your body with nutrients while actually tasting good. Makes sense, right? Each of the Philosophy superfood and protein blends is vegan, raw, gluten-free, and has absolutely no filler ingredients. With over 15,000 satisfied customers, including some of the world's biggest celebrities like George Clooney, Gerard Butler, Lea Michele, and over 10 years of experience, this is the best stuff you can get. To buy some or find out more info, go to our website, thephilosophy.com.
All right. Welcome back, everybody, to the conversation component, the interview-like portion, the part where we talk to our wonderful guests.
Mm-hmm.
According to what's in front of me right now, you're going to want to take out some paper.
Yes. Take some notes.
This is one of those. We are going to have a session, right? We're having...
I think we can speak more basically in general, just because it would take hours to actually dig into this. But we have the lovely Jenna here, and I would love for you to introduce yourself. We met, a year and a half ago? Yeah. You came over and did our charts, and it was so lovely. And it was before this kind of craze. And now you've kind of blown up. You've gone on all our friends' podcasts, Almost 30, and Jordan. And Lacey, of course, who I discovered you through on a personal level, not because of podcast world, but it's so great to see you on this side. And I want to hear how it's been going with how it's been spreading like wildfire. And
what is the thing? Even?
Yeah. What is the thing?
What is the thing? So the thing is human design. And I don't know. It's so funny because I was never really I wasn't someone that wanted a career anything to do with this. I wasn't planning to be a human design reader or do anything in the spiritual space. It kind of just found me.
Yeah.
And so everything I've kind of done up until this point has just been totally like random and organic. Like I don't even feel like I've had a plan for like, oh, I need to like be on these podcasts, or oh, I need to actually in human design, I'm what we call a non-specific manifester. So it means that I don't manifest when I'm being detailed. It's much more like general, kind of like you, when you're like, I just want to be like happy and sharing my gifts and whatever, and then just letting the universe kind of like fill in the details. So it's kind of taken me by surprise just as much as it has anything else. Do you know what I mean? So it's been really just a really fascinating journey to be on.
Well, it's been really fun to watch.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you do human design. And
yes.
You basically enter in someone's birth time, location of birth, and birthday. And then you have this really cool chart that comes up, right? Tell us more about that.
Yeah. So the website that anyone can go on is just called mybodygraph.com. That's my favorite one. There's a couple others, but that one is the one that I think is the best one. And it brings up a kind of what I like to think of it is kind of like the electrical circuitry of your body, because you see a bunch of wires and a bunch of boxes, and that basically tells me, you know, what you came in to do as a human being. So how, you know, where are there certain parts of you that are easy, that have flow, that are inherent to you, because those are the things that we need to lean into. And then there's certain parts that we choose not to have as souls, and those are the things that we need to basically not put our attention on. So it's kind of like someone told me recently with life, who's a life coach, that now their whole emphasis with life coaching is not about fixing your weaknesses, but actually leading with your strengths.
Hell yeah.
And it's like, apparently that's like the whole new trend with life coaching is like strength-based questionnaires and all this kind of thing.
Great.
Which is so much better.
As coaches catch up to like positive psychology from the 80s, but yes, that's kind of been the thing. I mean, positive psychology and a focus away from constantly talking about what went wrong in your life to saying, okay, I mean, we can talk about weaknesses if you want, but with the focus on what resources do you have to manifest wellness and security and victory, not just to sit around for 30 years and focus on how do we get over the bad shit that happened in your life.
Yeah. And I guess there's a real whole shift of people just not having time for that stuff anymore, like not necessarily needing like to earn your healing for 20 years. Like there's no more earning. I think it's just quick. Like the paradigm is like there's no space, time, and motion anymore. It's just like you realize something, you have the awareness, that's it. That's all you need to like fix it or start doing something different.
I mean, awareness is everything, right?
Yeah. And so this, just like anything else, is just another tool to basically make you aware of what is it that you inherently have that kind of comes easy to you, that you can kind of see yourself for more and hold up that mirror and say, these are things that I'm really good at, and this is what is unique and special about me.
And I think any of these tools can resonate for anyone in different ways. So
100%.
You may enter in this information and get it back and be like, cool, I knew most of this. I don't really, it doesn't really vibe for me. Fine.
Yeah.
Find the things, find the tools in healing and getting to know yourself, in becoming whole that work for you.
Yeah. You know, it's so funny because people often ask me like, oh, do you know any other readers? Can you recommend anyone else, whatever? And I actually go, do you know what though? I don't even think it's the human. I know, like, even I'm saying this, but it's not even human design. Actually, you're better off going to, like, there's a good intuitive that I recommend.
A
who
great
I think is amazing.
Healer down the street.
Yeah. You know, we're all saying the same thing.
Exactly.
You know, it's not about like the fact that this has any magic in it.
One of my best friends, Rochelle, actually, she was on the podcast in the beginning, and she has the Neshama Project jewelry, and we do retreats together, and she's gone through a lot of really hard times, including breakups. And every time she goes through a breakup, she goes and sees all the healers, all the tarot card readers, all the, the shamans. And she's like, she'll call me afterwards and be like, God, that was so amazing. And then after a while, as she's healing, days pass and she realizes they're all telling me the same thing. And she'll be like, I'm going to find love. Like she goes through like this thing. And then finally she realizes how obnoxious she's being. And like, it's all there. Like,
we love you, Rochelle.
We love you, Rochelle. And like, it's just, again, so true. Like when I'm in a struggling place, like until you start to see the light and realize like the universe is trying to tell me the same thing in lots of different ways, whether it be through animals or shamans or healers or human design or astrology readers. It's if they're good at what they're doing and they are in tune with themselves and the universe, they're going to tell you the same thing.
100%.
The thing you already know.
Totally.
But you just need to get clear to hear it.
And you know what I always say to people whenever I'm doing like one-on-one readings to people is like, actually, you've done 90% of the way yourself, because you've basically come to know. You have to be ready to already kind of know what I'm about to say. And then all this is like a permission slip from the universe being like, yes, everything you thought to be true is true.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's never like,
it's not like
I'm bestowing
I'm going to tear
this,
you.
like, yeah.
I'm going to teach you all these things about you.
So that has to do with actually what I talked about when we were in Leo's class today, and what I was asking you about before is, so we've had my time of birth wrong, I don't know, for the last 30 years, right? My mom was like, I think you were born around noon. I'm pretty sure she knew
Well, she
more.
had it as 5 a.m. when she was here a year and a half ago. She
Oh,
just saw
shit.
it in there. We had one
Okay.
at 3 a.m., one at 5 a.m. So
Yeah.
we were really
Cool.
wrong.
So not at all the right time. And
Yeah.
and then people tell me what my horoscope is forever, right, for astrology.
Mm-hmm.
And then we fit it in, right? Like I'm a Virgo, and then everybody was like, "Oh, you're such a Virgo," right? And so then we're in Tulum, and this woman asks, "Okay, is this for sure the time?" And I go, "No, it's not for sure the time because my mom doesn't really know." She goes, "Okay, well, send me to this website to figure out another time."
Mm-hmm.
So it asked me all these questions. I figured out another time, and now it says 2:30. So now at 2:30, the horoscope changes, right?
Oh my gosh.
And I still tell Sophie, I'm like, I'm the same person.
Yeah.
Like I was born at whatever time, and I'm the person that I am. Like now my horoscope, what is it, like Libra?
He's
right?
got
Like,
just like a ton of Libra in his
Oh,
chart.
wow.
okay, which nobody mentioned, like not once. Libra, and I know because I don't believe in this stuff that much, and so like as people have told me, I integrate. I'm really good at collecting data though, so I've integrated what people have told me over time, and it's like Virgo. Okay. So then somebody does this thing, and they're like, "Well, a little Virgo, and then a shit ton of Libra," and I'm like, "What the fuck? What is Libra?" Like I didn't even know what a Libra sign was because nobody's ever mentioned it to me. So then she explains it, and then Sophie's like, "Oh, this is the thing makes sense. That this thing in your life," and I go, "But babe, I'm the same person. Whether I was born at noon or 4 a.m. or 2:30." Whatever this chart is that somebody just hands me, I'm the same human being behind that chart. What I struggle with a little bit is we'll make sense of almost anything, right? So we'll explain, like if you give me a completely wrong chart, I'll explain in my head how some of the pieces fit.
Yeah.
Now, for sure, people have given me things before. I'm like, I'm sorry, but this piece doesn't fit. Like Sophie Sheesh, which we've had on, when you told her
She
I'm a
owns
Virgo.
Shape House.
You know
Oh
Shape House?
yeah, the sweat place.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Amazing.
we love them. So Sophie was like, "You're a fucking Virgo? How are you a Virgo?" Because if you look at my office is a goddamn mess.
The other Sophie.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
Her
the
name's
other Sophie was like, "How are you?" So we see pieces that fit. We see pieces that don't fit. Not what I struggle with. What I try to understand on a regular basis, like, okay, people get this information based on readings, on whether it's intuition or like science-based kind of regulated databases, like because you're pulling this out based from a database, right? Like you put this in based on time and space, etc., and it pulls out the sheet, and then you interpret. And so and I'm really looking forward to, because I think we're going to talk about some of the kids or some of that kind of stuff as we do this with, and I'm guaranteed there's some people listening right now who kind of understand what I'm saying here in the sense that, okay, I am essentially trying to understand what like a schematic, what a map of a human is, and then we try to fit what we know about that person. Like I love the idea of talking about parenting different kids because our kids are different. Like we have 3 kids, 2 of them for sure are completely different human beings. We'll see where Noah lands. But we are not those people who believe that all kids should be parented the same because I'm a parent and what I say goes. So I love to see how this kind of stuff relates. But I'm always kind of struggling with this thing of my kid is who they are.
Yeah.
True. And I want to get back to that. But in reference to what you were saying about the chart and it for you, I think that you, after observing you for 15 years, are a person who really knows himself. Like you know yourself and you're comfortable with being yourself and you have no apologies or qualms about that. You are who you are. You come into a room, you may have a few insecurities, you may this and that. Overall, you are a person who owns who he is, for better or worse, right? So
Absolutely.
like sometimes I'm like, tone it down, bro. And and I'm the same way.
Yeah.
But I really do think that
You're much better at considering other people's
I do consider other
like
people's
reactions.
things. But I also think that you know, like she was saying with the permission slip, like you don't need a permission slip.
No.
You are exactly who you need and want to be and are in all moments. So a chart isn't telling you anything you don't already know.
Well, I mean, again, like, right, I love data.
So what I like
Yeah.
about this is that for someone like me, it helps me understand you better.
Okay.
So when
it
I
helps
see,
you with other people.
Exactly.
Oh, I like that.
That's so interesting. Because I did a chart recently for one of my girlfriends who's recently a mom. And she said to me, you know, before this, I would have always wanted to know if I was doing astrology or whatever, I would want to know about me. And she's like, the interesting thing about being a mom and a wife is like, now I don't really care so much about
Totally.
if we have like 15 minutes, please don't tell me about what I am. She like didn't even ask me for her energy type. She was like, tell me about my 2 kids and tell me about my husband.
That's awesome.
So I think you're right. Like it helps you know other people as well. But I kind of tend to agree with you about the whole, like, you know, I think there's a danger when something like this or like astrology or like anything comes in and seems to have like answers for people, because we're coming from a society that is so willing to give other people the authority like over us, that, you know, this thing can either be used to like enhance the dogmatic, literal, damning stuff that you want to hear if you take it that way, or you can be loose and fun with it and kind of use it and, you know, just take the good bits and leave the rest, right?
Just like any tools that we use. Right?
Totally.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of maybe the point that I was trying to make, Sophie, when you and I were talking about this earlier, is I'm all for information. The thing that is really intriguing and interesting, we talked about this when we talked to the Dharma girls. So that is probably up before this, and people will already hear that. You know, we're learning slowly that even the world of science is much more kind of like interconnected, butterfly effect, vibration centric than we ever thought of before. Right? Newton was like, there's this thing, two things pull one another, and it's gravity, and it's just a force that exists within things. Now we're like, well, there's actually these weird things called strings, and they vibrate, and like all this stuff is actually just becoming norm.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, I think we talked about this in Dharma, so I don't want to go too deep into it. But if you think about it from the context that the universe is a whole bunch of bodies and all this dark matter and all the stuff that exists, it makes sense that who I am is affected by the balance of everything in the universe. And that is so massive, it's kind of even hard to think of.
Yeah.
And so I'm all for more information.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to me, some people get really dogmatic even about these things, right? Like they'll change career because they'll be like, oh shit, my horoscope said I'm this kind of person, but having this kind of job can't work in my kind of. Like, dude, just take a deep breath.
Yeah.
You're still the exact same human you were before this reading happened.
Yeah.
Take in information and incorporate it. But, you know, again, yes, it's one of the tools.
I think it's a great way to further understand who you are and the people closest to you. So your partner, I think it's important to get to know who your partner is, like their full chart of astrology, not just one aspect. So for you, you know, you're a Virgo sun sign. Okay, that's one small aspect of who you are.
Totally.
There's a lot of other...
One small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind.
For an astrologer.
It's so true though. And people take, you know, with my kind of one bugbear with this human design information, obviously as more people have discovered what it is and everything, is that the internet is like one big WebMD for like self-diagnosing human design. And it's like mind-blowing because it can tell you things and you take it so literally.
I won't Google anything. I won't Google
so
for the kids. I will not Google anything because there's so many scary things out there. There's so many, you know, groups of moms coming together and sharing their experience and in these chat rooms and Facebook groups. And I think it can be helpful, just like anything. It can be a tool that you can go to and maybe you discover something new. Like my best friend from childhood just discovered her daughter has a tongue tie, and she wouldn't have known that if she wouldn't have gone in, put her symptoms down and been like, look, this is what's going on. They're like, have you gotten her checked for a tongue tie? So then she went and did it. So there is definitely, but for me personally, it's dangerous. And I know myself well enough to know that if I go on and Google something, it's just going to lead down a rabbit hole of things of fear. And for me, I can't live in fear. Because one thing leads into another. So for me, I don't live in fear. I don't allow the things to enter to an extreme though, to a fault, right? So I don't lock my car. I leave my shit. I'm like asking the universe, like, okay, like let's play this game.
Testing.
I'm testing constantly. Like wallets in the car for days with like, you know, like, and it so far so good. Sometimes things happen, you know,
so
like
far, so good. I love it. Sophie's like, haven't died yet. Nobody stole my shit.
But it's true. I mean, it's like a constant.
That's hilarious.
I do see the world as that. I see my life experience as a test, as like as a game, almost like it's fun. It's like a fun thing to show up to and be present to the signs, be present to like what is that bird trying to tell me? What is this person in my life for? Why did that person leave?
Yeah.
Speaking of birds trying to tell us something. So, I want to know, like, let's tell our people about, I feel like we've teased them enough. It's been like 20 minutes of them sitting around going like, the fuck is this human design
what is this
shit?
talking about?
Like, what? Somebody tell me some stuff.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it.
Well, it's interesting because like anything, and you know, on that note, I think the thing is that if you are using this to feel more special than other people, if finding out who you are and being told who you are is just a tool for making you feel like you've got the best one or the better one or the best chart, then again, this is not doing its real job, right? Because it's supposed to put you in a place of just utter acceptance of like, this is what I'm really, really good at. That doesn't make me great or not great or whatever. You're really good at these things and let's all work together like these puzzle pieces. So, you know, it's
like the people who take an IQ test just to show off with the results kind of a thing.
Like, wait.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah.
We're good.
And until we get to like, this is just a tool for like utter acceptance. It's just like, these are the things I'm good at. These are the things I'm not good at. Don't need to be anything else. Just lean into that and use my thing, use my flow of the way. So human design basically was discovered 31 years ago. It was downloaded by a guy who was in an 8-day meditation in Ibiza. I don't know if he was on anything. That's always the question people have.
Wait, people do stuff in Ibiza? What DJ was playing while he was meditating is the question I want to know.
We should ask him.
I wonder if it was Tim.
So he basically just downloaded all this information in that meditation. It lasted 8 days. And then his name was Ra Uruhu. He basically created a software so that people could look up what they were. And it's a combination of astrology, Kabbalah, I Ching, and the chakra system. So it's like a comprehensive sort of mix of the four, but it's also its totally own thing. And so when I'm looking at a chart, the
map looks like Leonardo da Vinci's Man, right? Doesn't it look a little bit like that?
It looks like just a series of boxes and lines in a chart, and some of them are colored in and some of them are white. So the color is basically what you have, the inherent skills and qualities and essences that are true to you.
Okay.
And then the whites are the ones that your soul chose not to have because you just didn't need them this time around.
It's like the empty pipes. Those are the connections that were not, for whatever reason, created for you.
Yeah, needed.
Okay.
Don't need this human being doesn't need to be someone who's here to do the white things. What's interesting about the white stuff though is that that's where the challenge comes in, because where the white is where you're very prone to conditioning, because you basically are like blank. And so if you're brought up around someone that says to you, for example, if you're supposed to be inconsistent, or let's say you're not supposed to think about money and you have two parents that are like, you have to think about money in order to make it. In that's your place where you're most likely to be wounded, because it feels like such a neutral place for you. So you go, oh, I really have to cultivate that, because it feels like lack in comparison of, you know, what you have versus what you're brought up around. So basically the sort of like two-pronged approach we take with human design is like, what are the places in you where you've been very prone to conditioning, where you need to basically rid yourself of that conditioning? Okay. Versus also, what are the things that you're naturally like, the things that come easy to you, the things that you naturally are good at, the things you're supposed to be emphasizing in this life, and go with those. Like we were talking about the positive psychology.
All right.
So it's really fascinating because basically his whole thing, the guy who founded it, his passion was about the fact that we're living in such a homogenizing society. So like if you and I have something in common, that means that it's grounds for friendships, and we'll get on more if we like gossip about the same thing, or we like the same things or whatever. And his whole thing is like, actually we should be able to get on with anyone and not value certain people over others.
Or if we know ourselves, then we can understand how we all fit. Like what are the things that match us anyway, and we can just focus on those instead of trying to pretend like we're exactly the same human being.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then like, for example, if I don't need to be making myself be an artist, then actually that leaves that space for someone else who's supposed to be one. And then I can just focus on, I don't know, being a tech wizard or whatever it is I'm actually quite good at.
Is that what you are? Are you a tech wizard?
I wish. That's like, I obviously picked that because I'm like jealous of people that are. Like, I so wish I was.
Yeah, it's hilarious. I mean, you're using technology to make this thing happen, and somebody obviously put all the information that was collected to be able to do this thing in an app or a website to be able to do the same thing.
Yeah.
So obviously I'm going to want at some point to know about Noah, because we just had her and that would be interesting.
Yeah.
But I have a different question. Like, what have been some of the most interesting, unexpected things you've uncovered about either yourself or about other people in your life through this work?
Well, I think, even if this didn't end up being a career for me, the most amazing thing I got out of it was the day that my mom asked me to do her chart. And it was about a year into me doing it, like, for work and seriously. Yeah. And just when I got to see like what is behind the reasons, like the why does she do certain things, like what are the motivations behind when she panics or when she freaks out or when she's not in a good mood, or all the things that as a kid you basically get triggered by those things because you think it's about you, or you take it personally, or you anthropomorphize, meaning that you assume that she does things for the same reasons that you do certain things. And that just isn't true, right? Like you and I could both lose our shit at the same person, but for different triggers or different reasons.
Or you could lose your shit and I wouldn't, or vice versa, right? Like you could get totally freaked out by somebody doing, like cutting you off in traffic or leaving dishes on the sink, out of the sink. You could freak out and another person could be there going, what happened? Why is this so weird for you?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so for me to see the reasons behind her behavior was like the most instant like healing.
So what was one of the things that you saw when you did the chart for your mom and you're like, oh my God, now I finally understand.
Well, I saw that basically she has this ability to basically take on other people's doubts in her. So when other people doubt her, it makes her doubt herself because she doesn't have a barrier between that's you doubting me or that's me doubting me. So she mistakes anyone else having lack of faith in her as her own. Right. And so for her, even if someone is slightly doubtful around her, that's going to create a
doubtful about themselves.
Yeah. She's going to pick up on that and really feel that. That's one of the ways that she's kind of empathic, right? And that is actually a skill because it means that if you're aware of what that is, then you can almost mind read and tell when people are being doubtful, right? But because she hasn't got the tools and because she doesn't know what that is, now she does, she very easily, there's no barrier between that other person's doubt and her own doubt.
And did you find that telling her that allowed her to go, wait, I'm feeling doubt. Is somebody else around me doubtful? Or more like, I'm feeling doubt. I have an understanding of why that happens, but I still feel weird.
So basically now when she feels doubt, she can question herself of like, am I picking up from somewhere? Like, did it just come out of nowhere? Or is it coming from something that like a pattern that I repeatedly do kind of thing? So you have this awareness of like, I'm not always my doubt. My doubt isn't always trying to control me. It's either here telling me something about me, or sometimes it's just because like, I'm kind of psychic and I'm kind of picking up on people's stuff. And so then you can start to disassociate with your fears or your emotions or your whatever, that sometimes we all have different ways that we pick up on the external world.
Was there something like that for yourself that you found when you did your own chart?
Yeah. So I basically have an open mind center, the third eye, the ajna, and an open crown. And what that means is that I didn't come here to share my opinions with the world. It's not about me sharing my opinions, which is really funny.
Awesome. As I ask you questions about what you see in yourself. I love it. That's amazing.
So what's funny is that we all get taught that it's, if you're a smart person, you have to have your take on things, you have to have your opinions, you have to have your whatever. And actually there's just some people that are just not supposed, because that's not the gift they're supposed to give in the world. So like some people are just better off being like, yeah, I see both sides. I don't know. Could be right. Could be wrong. Not so sure. Like I'm not supposed to participate in like, debating with you politically about what's right and what's wrong and these kind of like hard facts, where there's some people like my brother, for example, or Lacey, like think about Lacey, the way she works is like her life's work is about her take on manifestation, coming up with her own specific like and
like bringing people to that camp, like this is the right way to do things.
And really being like, this is my system that I've developed. Like for me it's about the opposite, which took a long time to basically, because I was always told that I was a smart kid, and you
needed to come up with answers.
I basically just need to be open-minded and be open and just be like, I don't know, sure, I'm not going to be baited into proving you wrong or whatever. Like I'm open to having discussions that this could be totally wrong, you know, or this could be right. And that's something that I had to learn with myself, of just not having to be that person who is opinionated, because society says that you have to be, you know, you're valued when you know what you want and straight away you have a take on something and all these things.
Interesting.
And people now will go, well, you've got to have a, you know, like I stopped reading the news and my whole family is like, why? How can you stop reading the news? You got to know what's going on and da da da. I'm like, yeah, like I'll know the basics of what's going on. I'm sure it will find me, but I also don't need to get lost in the detail of what that is and know everything that's going on, because that's not what I'm here to do.
You know what, so more and more people that I talk to no longer definitely start their day with the news. Like I feel like a lot of people that's how they used to start their day. You know, they just watch the news, read the newspaper, etc. I think, so first of all, I agree. I've definitely reduced the amount of that I do. The reason for me is the news is just no longer objective. It probably never was, but it's not objective. So what you're getting from the news is the most dramatic, traumatizing stuff. And I tell my clients, we actually just did this. I just shared my music playlist with my clients. Like when I was a kid, when I say a kid, like I'm talking like junior high and high school, I listened to music. One of my clients did this really well. That would match my mood. And I was not in a great mood growing up. So like I was depressed and felt awkward, etc. So I would listen to music that was about being depressed and feeling awkward. Amplified my mood, right? It made it kind of reverberated through me, so that I carried that in my head, literally in my head, as I was listening to it on headphones. So I became more depressed and more isolated, and found other people who were depressed and isolated, and we could be depressed and isolated together. You know, now my playlist is primarily energizing, fun, high level sort of music, because that's where I want to be. And so even if I feel a little down, I put this music on and it energizes me. And I was talking to my clients about this, and a lot of them were like, oh shit, I listen to all music that brings me down. I go, well, just think about, would you do that with food, right? Like if you wanted to lose weight, would you eat McDonald's all day? Probably not. And what we do when we listen to the news primarily is, when was the last time you heard a story on the news along the lines of, you know, a nice young man in South Central Los Angeles helped an old woman cross the street because she was walking with a grocery bag and a cane, and she was having a hard time managing both, so he helped her cross. Never. They never cover that shit. And so many people have tried, I've heard, to have like positive. It doesn't sell because we don't get as shocked by it. So it's like the whole like train wreck kind of thing. You just watch it even though it's a nightmare. And there's good shit happening in the world all over the place. And if we allow ourselves, I talk about confirmation bias. If we allow ourselves to start with that, we'll see more of it in the world. But if we constantly are focusing on what's wrong, then that's all our brain will learn to focus on is what's wrong. And we will walk around the world correcting it and making it, you know, constantly pointing out what needs to be fixed and what is terrible, which is a horrible, horrible way to live.
Yeah. And there are some people that are literally here to, you know, be absolutely fascinated by that because they're here to change something about that. And that's great too. But that isn't the majority of us for sure. Yeah.
And I think a lot of us get bogged down with too much negativity. Yeah.
And, you know, there's a difference between, you know, I think also because of the globalization of the world, like if, for example, there was a, I don't know, like a mudslide in Eritrea, for example, we just wouldn't have known about it before. And it's great to be informed, of course.
But now it's like you're informed of, again, right? If it's primarily negative, you're informed of all the negative stuff that happens all over the world the moment it happens. Yeah. And then you hear all the extra negative shit that happens on top of it. It's overwhelming. Sometimes it's really, really overwhelming.
When I used to take Kabbalah, my teacher once said to me, because there was someone in the class that said, you know, what do you do about, how do you explain all the bad stuff that's going on in the world and whatever? And what they said is, you know, to be honest, it's about our collective consciousness and the fact that that's just a reflection of what we're not fixing inside of us. And so he was like, he said to this guy, he was like, if you are so like fixated on what to change, like how to change all the bad stuff in you, in the world, look at what you're doing that's in you, even the tiniest, all the judgments, all the because that's what you can control. And those are the things that need healing on a global level, and you're given your body, so you have to work on that before anything, right? So, and that does resonate with me a little bit, where of course we need to be aware of what's going on. And of course we should do our part to change it. But at the same time, not to an extent where we're also just forgetting that we need to do our part, become better humans, because I don't think these things would be happening if we weren't so judgmental. And so
Michael Jackson said, the man in the mirror, right? You gotta look at yourself. You gotta first, if each one of us did that, obviously the world would become a better place.
Right.
Like imagine for a moment if like gossip and talking about people behind their back would just disappear.
Yeah. Oh my God.
What kind of world? What kind of world would this be if people would just walk up to you and just actually be honest to you all the time? So for a lot of people, the negativity that they feel, your mom with the doubt and all that kind of stuff, is a real energy that they're feeling from other people who are just unable to be honest because whatever taught them in the past that they cannot be honest, because if you're honest then people won't love you. And now they're walking around just trying to figure out like, what is the thing that I'm going to say that will make me as popular as I can be, or as accepted as I can be, or as successful as I can be, versus how can I be my best self? And just kind of trust and believe that as long as I do that, that'll be so.
And don't you think that, do you find that in your work, like there is a way to be honest, like there's a way to do it that's kind,
it's simple. It's so simple. Maybe this is a good tip for today. Like own the opinion. When I want to say something to somebody else, it's not really about them anyway. It's about me. So I can say to somebody, hey, when you talk like that, it makes me feel uncomfortable versus stop talking like that, right? Like I feel weird and anxious, and I'm not really sure why that is, but when we engage in these sort of conversations, I feel anxious and weird. It's very different than stop talking like that because it's bad.
Yeah.
I'm owning the feeling, I'm owning what's happening. And so it's hard for people to then judge me for it.
Right.
And so I think that's one of those lessons that I think people don't listen to a lot, is we keep thinking that if I just tell you how to behave more like the way that I would like for you to behave, then the world will be a better place.
It's with the homogenizing again, right? Assuming 100%. That everyone is but even in the spiritual space, like I feel like that's such a big hiding place for judgment and for these negative things. We were just saying about how everyone needs to clean up their stuff within themselves. If the world would be such a different place in terms of even just like natural disasters and things, if just because it's just a reflection of the collective consciousness. Yeah. And so I feel like in the spiritual space, even we have to watch so much that it's not just using a hiding place for ego and judgment and all these different things.
Totally. Yeah. It's so dangerous, especially right now.
Yeah.
It's such a potent time. And I feel like so many people can hide, and can hide behind these veils of, well, I'm just enlightened, or I'm just I'm just practicing yoga all day, and so therefore I'm better than you. Therefore I'm not, and it's just not true. We all have to come together in our own ways and help each other to lift and grow and inspire each other, but even more so lift each other. Like not even just like, oh, I'm here to inspire other people. Like, what are you doing? Like grassroots, like what are you doing for others?
Yeah. And don't you feel, maybe this is just my experience, but when I was first getting into spirituality myself, I was so fixated on like, oh, I have the answer, so that means I know what everyone else in my life should be doing. And I'm like trying to make them come to like astrology so that they can understand and this and that. And then you get to the point where you're just like, hold on a second though, but they're smart in their ways, and they probably have opinions on, because I can't see myself perfectly. Like they have the things that they see about me just as much as, so it isn't about spirituality or the study of these things.
It's however you get there. If you're a super spiritual, if you're a religious person and you go to church every Sunday, but you're living in a truthful place, not from a dogmatic place, and you're here and you get so much inspiration from going to temple or church or whatever it is, and then you take those stories from the Bible or from the Torah or whatever you believe in, and then you apply it to your life, and you are just repping hardcore. Like you are just so inspiring and so inspired and lit up and great, awesome. Like if it's not coming from this, like I'm better than you this way, or you're not going to heaven this way, or you're going to hell. Like
even in
judgment,
a codependent way, like I want to help you and just like all this stuff. Is just
so
like,
that I can get my like first class ticket to heaven. Like no, like how can we just drop all that and like do what feeds you for sure? Like if astrology feeds you, if religion and following a specific book feeds you, like read that book every day if that's what you draw your inspiration from. for me, what works for me is learning as much as I can about all of these different things through travel, through like reading about and learning about, watching documentaries about different ways and different methodologies, whether it be like, we just watched a documentary last night about Ram Dass, and
Oh, wow.
it's about LSD. We only watched 20 minutes of it, and I was so lit up and inspired. And it's all about, it was about two men who are PhDs, doctors, psychologists, and they like left all that to do real research with LSD and mushrooms in real studies in university settings and in the 60s and 70s, and just like how cutting edge that is, and how there is just, and they legit said, like pretty much verbatim, that in 40 years of studying psychology, in one 4-hour trip, they learned as much as they could have, if not more, about themselves, the human body, the human brain.
Wow.
And the world, And it's like, who is anyone to say like, this is the way? Like, let's use as many different ways. Do the LSD, do the mushrooms, learn your human design, learn about astrology, go to a therapist, go to a cognitive therapist, go to a healer, go to a shaman, go do ayahuasca, like figure out what works for you and what resonates for you. And you know what? If you're someone who turns your nose up and you're like, ayahuasca, like hippie shit. If you're someone who like looks at astrology and you're like, it's so ridiculous, maybe that's exactly where you're supposed to be looking and going. And if you have that, it's kind of like in yoga for me, and like the way that I've always taught is like, if there's like a pose that you keep avoiding, that's probably the pose you need to work on the most. Same idea. If there's some kind of spiritual practice that you're kind of like turned off by, there might be a reason for that. Maybe there's some deeper learning there for you, or a lesson or something.
Yeah, so true. But I mean, like similarly, my other half, my boyfriend is, not into any of this stuff, like zero at all. But he's way more accepting than I am, way more loving than I am, warmer than I am. Like
he might not need that. Things. No, I mean, for Adi and I, like I'm super spiritual. Like I was born in this planet. Like my name means wisdom. Like I was born to like practice this stuff, and it just resonates. I'm a yoga instructor, all of that. Adi, like from the beginning, hasn't really supposedly been quote unquote spiritual.
Right.
But he is so non-judgmental, so kind, so accepting, would do anything for anyone, wakes up every day with such drive, helps people on such a deep, fundamental level. Like the work he does in the world, like it's like deep, deep healing. And he does it for nobody but himself. Right. He's not doing it because like a Bible told him to do it. He's not doing it because he's trying to get to heaven. He doesn't believe in heaven, So like he's just doing it because that's his life's work. Yeah. And like what's more spiritual than that? 100%. Waking up every day with a drive to help others who are struggling, So it's like, I just think the older I get and the more spiritual I become, the more important it is to just drop what we think we know and just be one with each other and keep learning, keep growing, keep expanding. But like, there is no one right answer to anything.
From a place of, it really has to come from a place of acceptance of what is right now. It doesn't mean it's going to always be that way, but if you constantly think that you have to change your situation, like there's something wrong with the situation.
Keep searching. I have certain clients and customers and all kinds of people that come to me and they just have the same issue over and over again. Like maybe they're struggling with food, for example. And they just keep searching for the answers outside of themselves. So say they keep going to nutritionists or they keep asking the question in different ways, reading all the books, going through all the diets. It's like that you're not going to find the answer. Keep search, just like we talked about in the beginning of this with different healers and psychic readings. And, you can search and search and search. You can go to 25 years of therapy. If in those first 6 sessions, you're not getting somewhere, you need to find a new therapist.
Totally.
If you see a nutritionist, pay this person, go to this person, read that book, and you still feel lost with what you're eating, there's a different issue.
There's something else going on.
It's not about the food you're eating.
Yeah. And the sort of interesting challenge that I've had with this journey is that people often, once you tell them what they are and once you tell them their conditioning and all that kind of stuff, I think our society is so used to having like a 21-day fix or do my way or my method or my this or my that. And there isn't one with this. Like there just is it's just a knowing, there's just an awareness of this is who you are and this is all the things you need to not be. And so it just becomes this like, okay, whatever is happening to you in the present moment is a perfectly crafted scenario for you to stop doing the stuff that you're not and for you to lean into the stuff that you are, or to just notice an old behavior pattern that you just don't need to do anymore. So there isn't this like proactive need to always like have the fix or the method or the way to get there. It's just like, every moment you can just see your old self or see your new self or decide differently or whatever.
It's a constant learning. It's like an ice sculpture and it's just constantly chipping away and making it even more beautiful. And then all of a sudden, like that butterfly became something completely different. Like that structure, that ice sculpture, the artist may think it's going to be one thing, and then in the end, it's something completely different.
Totally different.
And it just keeps chipping away little tiny marks. And then eventually it's a whole different picture. And sometimes it goes through it could be 5 different things, 10 different things. And like, you don't know, but just being open to that and all of those things, all that learning can help chip away at it. But you may actually be affecting yourself in a negative way or keeping yourself stuck longer if you're looking in the wrong places.
Yeah. And that's the sort of, so in human design, there's basically 3 different levels of conditioning. So you have personal conditioning, then you have tribal conditioning, and then you have collective conditioning. And one of the biggest sort of collective conditionings that we're now needing to kind of like each one of us get rid of so that our collective actually changes, because that's how the collective changes, is everyone does the individual unknowing, is this need to know how things are going to pan out before you take a step in that direction. This need to say like, okay, well, I need to know what I want is this, and therefore I'm going to go towards that. Or to say like, oh, well, if I don't know exactly, if I can't guarantee, then I'm not safe. That's the real belief underneath, is like, guarantees are illusions anyway.
Yeah.
You know? And so the second
100%.
we set to say, hold on a second though, don't I want to be here to live in like surprise and delight rather than having my whole, like if your whole life was mapped out in front of you, your soul wouldn't even come back. There would just be no reason to come back.
It'd be pointless. You'd be so bored.
So living in the unknown is one of the real things that, you know, is so challenging for us nowadays, but it's one of the real things that we need to basically like shift within us in order to get to a place of new paradigm of just trusting the universe more and trusting that everything here is like made for our growth rather than like, oh, I need to know exactly what's happening and that's when I'm in control.
I love the concept of just there is no good and bad. There is no good and bad. We're all here for ultimate learning. If you can strip away the judgment, you know, we talk about in a prior episode when I cheated on a D, and it's funny because Lacey's one of the few people that I told from the beginning, but because there was no judgment. It was just like, what happened was for your own maximum learning, you know? And I knew that in my core. Like as soon as it happened, I told a D right away that it happened, like minutes later. And I was like, this is going to be so good for us. And he looked at me, he's like, too soon. Too soon with that Sophie shit. Get that out of here. Like he was so mad. Like, so, but I saw it so clearly. I was like, cause when it happened, it was very much like an out of body experience.
Wow.
But, and there's like a lot more to that. Like it actually was borderline, like potentially like a little rapey, but I mean, honestly, it was an experience that allowed me to move through something that I have never been through, like an experience I'd never been through. It made me move through judgments that I had for other people and a D. It's like, how could you possibly have sex with someone that you don't love? Like, I don't even understand that. Like I had to experience it and feel it in my body to be like, oh, I want nothing to do with him. It was just an experience for learning. And anyway, but then I went to Tulum and I was teaching a retreat, and of course, like had to be in a teachable, teaching moment, like right after I go through this really big trauma in my life. And I met with this tarot card reading, and she was just like basically that same kind of feeling of like, congratulations, after I told her what happened, because this is going to give you huge shifts. It's a huge learning opportunity, and it's going to be the most growth that your relationship has experienced in a long time. It's like a lightning bolt to your relationship. And there is no good and bad. Like if you can get away, society creates what it believes to be is good and bad. This is just another experience in your life.
Literally.
Like even your marriage is a society given, facade. Like it's like this thing, like, oh, you're married, so you're wearing a ring, and like all these things that are just funny when you think about it. And where's that even from? From the Bible? From the, like, who says these rules are supposed to be this way? Like, and And in some ways we're very animalistic. Like, so I had sex with another creature in, normal habitat. Like I was out in the wild and I had this experience and I brought that experience back to our relationship, and it healed us in so many ways from past experiences that he had, that we had. And again, judgments that I had surrounding all of it. And it's, if you just strip away the good and bad to anything, even to the food we eat, that like energy that we attach to different things.
And I think we're all doing it just because we're trying to show ourselves that we're worthy. And so we try to only see ourselves as doing good things. Or if you have, sometimes it's the opposite, like we only want to see the bad things in us. But actually the second you go, hold on a second, we all have good and bad stuff in us. It's just different good and bad, different combinations of good and bad. And that has nothing to do with worth. Like we're already inherently worthy. And so, we can mess up. And yes, we can have bad intentions. And yes, we can have good intentions. And it can all coexist in one person. And it's absolutely fine. Yeah. That's the healing. Yes. That's the healing of saying, I'm not supposed to be good at these things. I mess up sometimes. Yep. I'm great at these things though too. And none of that makes me better or worse. Right. Like I always say to people, it came through me once when I was doing a reading, when I was saying to this person, like, Steve Jobs is no more worthy than my mom, like just because of what he achieved. And
totally,
Mother Teresa is no more worthy than like the worst person on planet Earth, because it's not about that. We don't know like all the soul levels we've been through and the incarnations and the different energies that come through us and why we do certain things. And maybe being nice to your mom, if that's your only karma, maybe you achieved it more than someone who made a $100 million company valuation in your life. We just don't know through our human eyes. And we just don't.
Yeah. And it's all, good, bad, shadows, light, however you want to put it.
Yeah.
Like, just like the moon and her phases, right? Like there are shadows. The new moon is a shadowy time. Like, this is normal, like eclipse it. Like all of this stuff is the most natural. If you look at nature, you can learn and see like, look, everything has a shadow, everything has light. And same for our personalities, if that helps with like the good and the bad.
Yeah. When I was a kid, my parents were always telling me like, oh, you're so good because you're never jealous. You're not a jealous person. You're not a jealous person. And because it was told to me so much when I was growing up, I attached that as a real belief system of I'm just not jealous. I never feel jealous. And like valuing myself for like not being that way.
Yeah.
And then not so long ago with my current partner, I basically realized one day, I was like, oh shit, I'm actually really jealous of him. Like I'm really freaking jealous of like him and his career. And then how did that
make you feel? Because you're like, I'm not a jealous person. I'm not supposed to be a jealous person.
Yeah.
That must be really bad that I'm jealous. Right.
And then I was like, oh wow, it's a cue that's trying to tell me something. And if I avoid that cue because I just don't want to associate with the full spectrum of human emotion, then that's like cutting a whole piece of wisdom out of my life.
Exactly.
So now I'm like, I'm jealous. I can be crazy. I can be emotional, but I can also be rational. I can also be calm. Anytime we try and do, I'm just this kind of person, or I'm this kind of person, or I'm calm, or I'm always this, which I think you can use spiritual tools to help you validate that. That's just pulling you further and further away from who you actually are.
Exactly.
And it's all destructive.
Yeah.
It's
so dangerous.
Destructive.
It's destructive. Yeah. It's distracting. Like just show up and be present to this moment right here. How is your body responding? And you can use all of this to better get to know who you are and how you naturally would respond. But it's not a good or a bad thing. And it doesn't mean that you're stuck there. It doesn't mean that this is who you are and therefore X, Y, and Z. Like
we need this like insane level of like needing to define ourselves. Yeah. And it's just not helpful. And I get that obviously when we're lost and in a period of time where we need answers, it's a good thing to kind of try and understand who you are. But then like you said, like we just need to be fluid with it too. Like we change, we get stuff wrong, we're different people. We can see ourselves as totally unjealous, which there is a part of me that is, but then there's other places where I am totally jealous, you know? And then
and observe and knowing yourself and observing your journey. Like if you're having one of your first experiences being jealous, like that's great. What a great lesson that you're now like showing up to that. But if it keeps showing up and you're constantly jealous and it's creating problems in your life, well, then that's something to look at, right? Totally. So it's nothing's ever like cut and dry. Like there's good, there's bad, but the good and the bad can teach you things to better know yourself. It's just your own, like I was saying, it's like the universe is kind of like a game to me in the most fun sense of the word game. Not in that I don't take it seriously. And of course, for me, it's like, wow, it's all here for me. How cool is that? Like the most fun game ever. Like how I get to the next level, the way that I do this, the way that I get new lives. Like all of this is like it's the way that I respond and react to the lessons that I'm given every day. And that's given in so many different ways. And only I know those answers.
Well, I think that's the important thing, is that you know that you can like your interpretation of those things is the best interpretation. And of course, you'll get little clarifications along the way from different people, but ultimately it's about what you see. Because, okay, a raven, spirit animal, doesn't mean the same thing for everybody. No. It means whatever you know, attached to what is a raven and how it makes you feel and these different types of things. So, you know, real ultimate like power and our personal power is when you stop leaking it and giving it away to other people.
I love that. That's so beautiful.
And for me, that's mainly the thing that I want to do with this work, is just to help people realize that, you know, there is just this like, yep, you've got this, all the stuff you suspected to be true about yourself all along is true. If you just lean into the stuff that you find really easy and just know that that's enough, you don't need to be anything else. You don't need to cultivate anything other than what you actually are. You're good.
Yeah.
It's so simple. It's so simple. Yeah.
Done. Case closed. Stop searching.
Yeah.
Boom, mic drop.
It's so easy. Yeah. And people, I think, you know, and the only reason I know this is because I know this part of myself too, where I try to overcomplicate or find methods or try to, okay, if I do this, then if I do X, then Y will happen and whatever. And really learning this medicine of just learning to live in, hold on a second, Jenna, like, you're you take yourself everywhere you go. So if you can understand who you are and try not to always be like, I know, for example, that I'm not like, maybe it will change, but I'm not like a hilarious person. I'm not here to be an entertainer, for example.
I'm going to become a comedian tomorrow.
Yeah. So there's not like, but there's not a part of me then that is around people where I need to feel like, oh, I'm funny or I need to be funny. I just go, that's just not like, I don't need to cultivate an energy other than what I authentically am.
Exactly.
So why am I trying? Let someone else be the funny person in that space. Like, it's
and
fine.
Celebrate
it's cool.
that.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like we said, the quote, good and bad and like stronger aspects of who we are. Like just lean into that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you get to a place where, I know it's so cliche of like, oh, we're all the same, but you can really get to a place when you really value yourself and you can then really value other people, that seeing someone else shine in being funny, for example, is just as much of a joy to you as you being funny yourself. And you go, oh, isn't that just such a wonderful thing as a human being? Like, oh, it's just such a nice quality.
And, you know, isn't it funny that, you know, I notice that all the time in my kids, like I let them shine and like be funny, you know, and be smart and like just observe them and just love it. And it's, you know, it's so easy in children to see that. Like, why can't we see that in each other? Like, oh, she's so funny. Like, I'm just going to let her be funny. Like, I'm going to let her shine and like teach about whatever it might be, you know, and just allowing each other to lift each other. I think that's the most important, like we talked about with the community.
Yeah.
How can we lift each other? How can we celebrate one another? That's really where the healing as a community and as like a society is going to happen.
Yeah. And I think you're right. It's like, you don't even have to, it starts with not even figuring out how you can, I don't know, go out of your way to like help someone. It just goes observing like, what a wonderful like combination of human things this person has. Exactly. And like, isn't that cool? Isn't that interesting? Like, you know, we're all just so different. And the more people you get to really just see, it's kind of like, my best friend calls it been there, not done that. It's like, if you can learn from like how other people are, you don't have to go through the whole thing yourself. Like, you would just learn more and become more wise.
Well,
by
that's
just
the
seeing.
thing, like coming back to that cheating experience, I thought for sure I learned enough from my friends, but apparently I had to live it because I wasn't learning the lesson. I still held on to this harsh judgment of both Adi and other people, and just being like, I could never do that. Like, the type of person that would do that is just more sexual or more this or more that or secretive, or, you know, like I had this judgment attached to it, and I couldn't, until I learned it in my own body, I couldn't let that go. And now I let it go. Now it just doesn't exist for me anymore. And that's the thing, is if it's like standing in your way of growth and being fully open, that, or like keeping you stuck, that's when you have to experience the learning for yourself.
Yeah. And you're right. It's always always the cue there is like when you go, I could never, or I just don't get how, or I just don't understand. You're like, hold on a second.
Shit.
I need to kind of delve into this deeper, because we're just, the reason why we don't think we're that is because we've like lost that part of ourselves that could do that. I mean, I could become funny tomorrow. I could become, you know, a performer. Well, I don't know.
And I think, again, listening to the cues from the universe, like even like Adi, my husband from the very beginning, would be like, he'd be like, I wish I could gift you more sexual experiences. Because when we met, and like for your partner to say that when you're 20 years old. And like my ex was the opposite. He was so controlling, so jealous. So I wasn't used to it. I was like, how is my partner? Is there something wrong with him? Does he not really love me that he would want me? But he was so profoundly, acutely aware of
what they teach you,
how it teaches you so much about who you are.
Wow.
Like he called it from the beginning.
Isn't that so
And I fought against it. Like, I don't need that. I don't need that. Like, I'm fine. Like so prudish, you know, and so like absolutist. And yeah, again, like you said, the never, and
it's always
it ended up, you know, biting me in the ass. 14 years later, or 12 years later, whenever we had that experience, like after he said it several times throughout, and I was in such denial and in fear, right? Like, what would that mean? What would that look like? So funny.
I'm really fascinated because there's a part of me that thinks like, are we supposed to be like, even with one person?
Oh, yeah.
Are we like, is our kids' generation going to be like, you guys were stupid to even think that marriage was like a thing? Is it going to be like a totally defunct?
Yeah.
I don't know the answer, but
I don't know the answer, but I think that there are lots of people that we respect and know, and we hold this too, is like monogamy isn't for everyone. I think that's like, for some people it is, and for some people it's really not. And that's okay. And that's perfect.
Yeah.
You know?
And then how do you navigate? Like, you know, obviously that you want to feel safe. And I think, yeah, the honesty part is obviously a big part of it, but it's
that's
just
what
like,
D&I, that's kind of where the like radical transparency that we have in our relationship, that came from like exactly this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
but that's like rare.
Yeah.
Like super rare now. Like it's so funny because someone I know is going through a hard time in her marriage, and they're having really honest conversations now.
Yeah.
But it's like, why, you know, if we did that all the time.
Exactly. This is exactly what we're pushing. We have a relationship course, a 3-hour course that we recorded, and it's exactly that. It's like sharing radical transparency now. It's getting to know these tools and tips to communicate better and be more intimate now. Not necessarily when you're in a trauma. It's great when you're in a trauma to then learn it, but how about avoiding going through it at all? You know, and just getting these fundamental things for us so that we can be better partners.
I feel like as well, you know, obviously the universe gifts us with rock bottoms and these type of things, but if you really want to avoid, and I don't want to say like guaranteed to, of course everyone has challenge, we're all going to face challenges in our life, but the fast track to growth is when you can pay attention when it's really small and change then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And so like
being
if I'm
really
uncomfortable,
paying attention to the nuance.
Yeah. Instead of just ignoring it just for the sake of getting on more,
ignoring it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden something big happened.
Yeah.
Which is what I did with that, right? Like the sexual experience was like ignoring my own partner being like, you know, like I wish I could gift you this thing. And me being like, no.
I don't need it. I'm fine.
I don't need that.
Yeah.
And then it just like showing up for me.
Yeah.
And like being a huge pivotal learning moment. Hold on.
I think it's difficult as well.
So I so appreciate all of this. I mean, it's just so much a lesson. And I just think, again, like it's what we already know. All of it's already what we already know. And the universe, our friends, healers, psychologists, everyone is just trying to help share that with us, that message.
Totally.
So you put Noah, Kai, and Leo's information into this for the reading, right?
Yeah.
And we really wanted to kind of talk about here parenting in general, in a general sense, and just how different each individual is in their makeup, and bring it back to parenting and our thoughts on that, and how it's so important not to parent the way that we were parented by our parents, and then more importantly to parent to each individual child. Like you owe them that.
Totally.
Whether you have 1 child or 10, like it was your responsibility. You were the one that had the child. I think it's a responsibility to that child to parent them to the best of your ability.
100%. And really what Ra'u, who the founder of Human Design, said is like, you know, I'm bringing out all this information, like sure, you guys can benefit from it, but really who this is for is like the unborn, because think about if they're parented according to who they actually are, how much less deconditioning they have to do and how much quicker they then can just like soar in their lives because they don't have to figure out like what they are. You know, parents
kind of like
just,
your parents telling you you're not a jealous person. And then like now you're like
I was like, hold on a second. I kind of want to be though. Like there's a part of me that, you know, you get it and you love it and you embrace that. And you're like, okay, like I see what Beyonce was like singing about all those days. Like I'm so leaning into that energy. Like love it. Whereas before I was like, what's up with her? She's kind of lost the plot, you know? But it's so interesting because, and it's perfect that we're like talking about parenting. I was saying to you that everyone asked me about parenting. So it's like great to be on a podcast with like you, who seems to do such a good job of like seeing your kids for exactly who they are and really just paying attention to them and taking cues from them.
In weak moments, I parent them the same, you know, in weak moments. And I didn't do their charts until this moment. I know who they are in a very loose way. I see their differences. I observe their differences, but I'm really excited to really see their human design so that I can just better understand who they are.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you want to start with your oldest?
Yes.
Okay, great. So what's cool is that both of your two boys are manifesting generators. And manifesting generators are basically like really multi-passionate people. They're basically people who are here to teach all of us that the path of life is not linear. And so they really are the square pegs in the round holes, because they're supposed to be like interested in this and then they want to do that. And then they're here and then they're there and they're all over the place, but that's their superpower. And the world basically tells them that you have to have a plan and you have to know where you're going and you have to stick to one thing in order to get to mastery. But really with them, they get to mastery so much quicker because they can pick something up and get really good at it. Take to it quite easily, and then the second they're bored of something, need to go on to the next thing. So it's this beautiful dance that manifesting generators do, which they're really here to teach us, which is that it doesn't matter where things look like they're going at any one time, because you'll still get to the mountain at the top anyway. Even if you're going to quit a business or if you're going to finish before before the thing's completed or whatever, it doesn't matter, because if you're still let's say becoming smarter, wiser, more strong in yourself, then nothing is a waste, any of those things that you do. So it's okay for man-gens to be like jumping all over the place and into different things and passionate about.
So as a parent, how does that work then if you're, if you know that your child's a manifesting generator and they're going to hop around and do a lot of different things, Leo, we bought him a guitar and we started guitar lessons, but we saw that he genuinely wasn't super interested in it. So we stopped lessons. But like, what do you do if they just keep quitting things? How do you know if it's like laziness versus, this is who they are?
So I think the thing is that they feel like with man-gens, they can essentially kind of feel like they could, like something could look appealing to them, but they're very visceral people. And so it's only once in the experience of doing something that you then actually decide whether you're into it or not. So for them, the most important thing is that they're allowed to have the visceral experience of something before then deciding if it's like a good thing, because it doesn't come from it can't come from an intellectual place with them. As much as they try and think, I kind of think that would be fun for me or whatever, they just can't do that
until they experience
it. It's so physical. It's so gut based. It's so in the
So
physical.
Maybe as a parent, since they aren't as good at articulating it, it's more of like an observation of, okay, let them have that visceral experience. Let them, for example, with Leo with the guitar. Is he alive when he's experiencing those lessons? Is he when he holds that guitar, does it make him a better person? Can I tell him he's like lit up and being the best version of who he is, or is he kind of dying a little? And that's how it was. He was just kind of like bored, not really present, but like as opposed to when he's acting, he lights up.
Wow.
He's his best version of who he is, and everyone sees it. Everyone's
That's
like, who's
so
that kid when he's on set? And it's until that changes. If at any point that changes, that's when we'll pull him out of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's the thing. And so for man-gens, it's not about, okay, well, that means he's always going to love acting. It's like he might do for the next 10 years or the next 10 months and then be into something else. But he's cultivating his skill on this planet by doing stuff that excites him, because what excites him isn't a coincidence. It's the universe saying, keep doing this. It's a sign saying, go down this, take the door, Love it. And so people feel so afraid, or they over strategize what excites them. But what we need to do is trust that it's not coming from us. It's coming from the big guy or woman upstairs, basically saying, keep cultivating this. And so you don't lose. You never go back if you've cultivated something. That's always a power that you can then use as a transferable skill to go into something else. And so a lot of the human design literature talks about how manifesting generators and generators have to wait for their or the nuh-uh. And I find that so boring and literal. So what I usually tell people is look out for whether you're having an expansive response in your body, kind of what you're saying, or a contractive response. And then you just take your cues from that.
That's great. I
just
love that.
Follow the expansion. And that's all that manifesting generators need to do. And to be honest with you, it doesn't matter so much like having a plan for mangens, because they're never going to know like how they feel about something in 6 months time. Like if you ask a manifesting generator, like, okay, should we go on vacation in 6 months time, or like, let's go to the movies in 2 weeks time, they can commit to something now because it sounds like a good idea, but then it gets closer and closer to the time and they go, oh, I'm not into that, or I don't want to do that, or whatever. So the more in the moment they can make decisions as well, the better. Because they don't know how they're going to feel in the future, because it's always changing basically. So the less they try to say, I'm a person that likes this all the time, or I'm a person that is good at this or enjoys that, that's a better thing. What's different about both of your kids though, is that the older one has basically what we call a radically open ego center. And what's fascinating about human design is that the ego and the heart are the same thing in human design. So we tend to think like ego is bad, eradicate the ego, and heart is like beautiful and good and da-da-da. Whereas actually ego is we're not talking about ego in the sort of like fear voice kind of way, but ego in like, what do I want from this world? What are the motivations that like I want? Do I want fame? Do I want money? Do I want power, impact, being seen? Like these are all things that if they're authentic to you, you're supposed to be following them. It's not a bad thing to want these things, right? And so your older child has a radically open ego center, which means that he's not supposed to be motivated by, he didn't come to be motivated by these egoic wants like money, power, success. He's supposed to do something just because it's like from a pure heart-based kind of place. And then the younger one has a very strong ego, which is only about 30% of the population.
Oh, we're clear on that. We're clear on that.
And his motivation in life actually is money. His soul chose to be motivated by money. Okay. So as he gets older, encouraging him to, if he's on a path and there's a couple doors and one promises money, the other one promises success, impact, whatever, like he has to take the door that says money, and it's energetically correct for him to say, yes, I want this money and it's good, and not because anyone else is losing out, like obviously with a good consciousness, but that's why we're so afraid to want the things we want, because we think, oh God, like if I want fame, then that means I want to be better than people. There's none of that anyway. And so for him, like I always say to people, if you were going to be like a cult leader, I would only choose someone with like a strong ego, because they're people that are really infectious with their wants and things, and people can really like get on board when they're like wanting like physical stuff. It's like really infectious when they're speaking about what they want. Other people can get really like influenced by them. So they're really influential people. So you see, even though they're both manifesting generators, even just from that one aspect of their chart, they're both like so different, right? Because one is supposed to just not be thinking about any of that stuff and just doing it from a pure heart-based place. And then the other one already,
it's so funny. These things are in alignment. Like everything that you've said so far is in alignment with Leo and Kaya according to what I'm observing.
It's so fascinating. Yeah. And then Kai basically, is also what we call an emotional in human design. Yeah. So emotional people are people who basically wake up sometimes and they feel happy, sometimes they feel sad. It's just got nothing to do with what's actually going on in the world around them. It's just like life is playing different songs and you have zero control over, like, you could be bluesy, you could be happy. Yeah. It just doesn't really is correlated to what your actual life situation is. Interesting. And so for him, and also his emotional wave, because there's different sort of sizes of emotional waves, and he has like a really big one. So he's able to feel the real high highs and the real low lows just from sitting on his couch. Yeah. And that's actually a blessing, because what that is him having understanding of, like, you know, let's say, for example, most people need to only feel really, really sad or really down when they've gone through something. And he can understand that even without having gone through it, because he can feel those things. He can feel the full spectrum of human emotion.
Is that different than being an empath?
Yes. So it's interesting because from a human design perspective, people that are, so we're all empathic in different ways. So Kai, for example, is empathic because he can understand what someone is going through, because he's been through those things himself. Leo is a non-emotional, which basically means that he's a blank canvas that's basically amplifying the emotions of what's going on around him. Totally. So for him, he actually can really genuinely feel what someone else is going through, because he's not mired by his own emotional wave like Kai is. Yeah. So Leo can feel other people's emotions and kind of like really genuinely be in that moment with you. But Kai can understand what that's like because he's felt that genuinely in himself from before. Oh. So it's different. We're all empaths.
For Kai, it's almost like in his head, he's intellectually remembering and relating based on a prior experience. It's not just in his head. He really can feel it. Yeah, that's really cool.
And Kai is like, I'm there with you because
Yeah.
I'm like feeling it and I can like totally get off what
Yeah.
it is you're up, because he's a blank canvas emotionally.
Oh, Leo.
Yeah. He's a total blank canvas,
Yeah.
which means like you could walk into the room and feel like 2 out of 10 happy, and he'll all of a sudden be 6 out of 10 happy because he'll just be like feeding off you.
That's amazing.
Because he doesn't have his own stuff. So again, like, you know, just to understand that if Kai is in a really bad mood, it's literally not because of anything you said yesterday. It's not because of something that he is something's happening at school with him. It's just because he's just in a low mood.
In that mood. Yeah. And just respecting that. And again, like very basic parenting stuff. But if your son or daughter walks down the stairs and is in a mood, knowing that it's from, you can ask.
Totally.
You know, like, hey, what's going on? I'm not really sure. Okay. Just respecting that, because you know that's the type of person that he is.
Yeah.
Or she is.
Absolutely.
As opposed to pushing it and being like, something must have happened.
Yeah.
With Leo, it had to have been something happened. With Kai, it could easily be, I don't know, I'm just feeling this way.
Funk. Yeah.
Just here. Yeah.
And also then he can be in the high, you know, in the highs for no reason too. And he's also got this interesting thing where, you know, sometimes he really wants to be around people and he's really good at being, you know, lovely and warm. And then other times he kind of wants to, you know, just be by himself and pull away. And that kind of in and out dance of being with people and being alone is just a really big part of actually the way he's going to process life and get to whatever it is that he masters, because he really needs that time to basically collate whatever he's learned, whatever he's observed. So there's always going to be this pull in and out of, you know, wanting to be super warm to people and then maybe being slightly cooler and just dancing in and out of that. And again, that has nothing to do with what people are actually doing or saying, as long as he learns to share with people when he's in that mood of when he needs to be more, you know, hermiting away or being alone. It's not because of something you said that was wrong or whatever. It's just because that's his process. He pulls in and out of being social.
That's
that's
fascinating.
what he needs to do.
So fascinating. Yeah.
Whereas Leo is a little more just like, just kind of go with it and roll with whatever's going on. He's much more just...
Leo just wants to be where the fun is all the time. He just wants to be where the fun is and where the party is and where he wants to go where the energy is.
And it's really interesting because he has so much in his chart of being able to hold so many other people's energy. So the reason why he's always drawn to being around people and going towards everything is because he's actually there to really like be the person that lifts and teaches by his own life experience, and other people look at him and go, oh, this is how he does it. This is how he is, like taking cues from how he does things. And so obviously life is going to want to put someone who's got to do that in a position where he's always around people, because that's how people are going to find him. If he was like just wanting to be alone, then he wouldn't be able to do his life purpose, right? Totally. So the fact that he has an incredible ability to hold so many people's energy means that obviously life is going to make him be around people, you know? The other interesting thing about him is that he's not built for pressure at all. So, you know, for some people, like, having a fear of failure will make them do something, or like having someone else's expectation will make them do something about it at all.
I could have told you that. Yeah. And Kai is, right?
Yes. So Kai, when there is like a, need for something, like if he feels that there's like a real need from a place of like, okay, this actually has to like,
so for example, when they're both on set, because they both do acting, if a director wants Kai to do something, Kai'll do it till he's blue in the face, just because the director tells him to do so and because he's supposed to. Leo doesn't give a fuck. He'll be like, I'm tired.
Perfect.
No.
Yeah. It's perfect.
And I'm like, okay, he's tired. And I respect that. And I'm like, you know, and like you could look at it like, oh, he's being a diva, but he's not. He's just, that's who he is. Yeah.
And actually
he's not going to just do what you want him to do. Like, because you want him to do it. He's going to do it.
He's protecting his body by doing that, because if he, let's say, for example, if you pressured him to start listening to external pressures, then he would be basically running his physical system in a different way. It's like you trying to install PC software into a Mac. It's like, this isn't installing into my system. And that's when the body would show ailments. That's when the body's going to get sick, because it's going to say, this feels like chaos. And we're not supposed to run under pressure. We're only supposed to manifest from a place of actually being excited to do things. So when I'm trying to force myself to create action from a place of, I don't have that in my tank, things are going to go awry. Things are going to go wrong. So And also because he has very strong manifesting energy in him, he's a manifesting generator, so he's a mix of both. But because he has very strong manifesting energy, it very much is like Johnny Depp is a manifester. And he's famous like in this world for, you know, we're going to do this today on set, or I want to do this part first, or I want to do, like, can we do this scene before that scene? And because he so owns it, people don't mind.
Yeah.
You know? And so, Noah, who we haven't talked about yet, she's a projector.
What does that mean?
So projectors are basically people who, and it's interesting because you have two manifesting generator kids. So they have like tons of energy and they're so used to being lit up and they're kind of multi-passionate and all these things. And the thing about projectors is that they are people who are not here to, let's say, they don't create energy, they mutate other people's energy. So her as a person, she's going to have her way of seeing like a system or a tweak or an efficiency gain or seeing things in a different way, because she's really here to see into the other. She's really here to see people and help people do things better, basically. And what's interesting, even more interesting, is that she's a self-projected projector. So see how much color your kids had in their chart, and she only has like 2 centers that are colored in.
Oh yeah.
Makes her very, very open and receptive to other people, makes her take in deeply the energy of others, makes her very, very prone to conditioning, but also that means that she has incredible potential for wisdom too, because if she realizes that all the things she takes in are not her, then she will be able to just see all of that intel as like telling her stuff about how other people work and how other people think and what's going on in the world around her. As long as she doesn't absorb it and mistake it as her own, she's just like a wide open sponge.
Isn't that similar to the way I am? If you pull mine up.
So you, let me see.
I feel like I had a lot of open centers. I remember that part. Although maybe the time changed it a bit.
Let's have a look at your new one. I mean, you're very, very, you're like radically open emotional.
Yeah.
So that means you deeply feel like every tiny thing that's going on emotionally with people. And you have the same radically open heart that that Kai has, which means it's not, you know, if you ever did something for the money, for the fame, for the whatever, it would actually backfire.
Yeah.
And you two are both really those people. You know, when they talk in like manifestation books of like, you know, you could be doing something and then the check comes in the mail or like random stuff.
Oh, that's my life.
It's people like you who that happens to, because it has nothing to do with your output, has nothing to do with what's given back to you. It's not related.
Like every commercial I worked on in my like early 20s, late teens to mid 20s, I would forget that I was even going to be paid for it because I had so much fun on set, just being on set. And I would like do my homework from UCLA, like while I was on set doing commercials. But like right when I was like, I just bought $1,000 worth of things for Christmas to bring back home to my friends or my family, I would get a check, like a residual check. I'm like, oh my God, I completely forgot. And it happened all the time. I would like givingly just pay something, do something, have an action, buy a thing because my heart wanted to, and then a check would come. And that's just the way it's always worked. Like I just forget. I just forget that there's a money attached to it because it's not why I do it.
Right.
Yeah. It's part of it. Like we all have to have money to like play in this world, but it's not at all close to why I do anything. Exactly.
So, it's
interesting.
It's fascinating. Yeah.
So Noah is much more of like, it's interesting that she's the third and she's the one that's very different.
She's really different. Just in the way that her energy will be used will be different, because she won't be, her energy is basically feeding off other people rather than generated herself. And so that means she'll also probably tire out more quickly.
She sleeps all the time, by the way.
Yeah, that's like a typical projector thing. Like projectors always need more sleep.
She sleeps all day.
I love that.
All night and all day. And like, don't hate other mamas because like, see, it's her human design. Like, isn't that interesting for like someone to do their child design and be like, oh, look, like what would be something that a parent could look for that maybe they would need less sleep or not be as good at sleeping? Is there something that someone could look at?
So yes, well, literally, so you have your sacral center, which is basically the second from the top. It's your sacral chakra, your gut, right? And so if you don't have that filled in, it means that you generate less energy than if you do have that filled in. So if you're a generator or a manifesting generator, you will need less sleep your whole life relative to what other people do, especially when you're doing stuff that excites you, you need less. So you even know as a generator, when you're doing stuff that like lights you up so much, you could do it all day and just not like, get tired. Whereas if you're really doing something that you've told you have to do, which you probably don't, but anymore as much. But when you did have to do things that you felt like you had to because out of duty or out of whatever, those things tie you up.
Exhausting. Exactly.
So for generators and manifesting generators, it's about needing less sleep when they're really lit up, and needing the times when they're really tired is when you're still saying yes to things that you shouldn't really be doing. Whereas with projectors, like I would say she could have 14 to 16 hours of sleep and it's normal. Like that doesn't mean, for her, that means it isn't like an underlying like health issue,
depression or
it's just
like
normal.
Thyroid issues.
It's just normal. That's how she replenishes, because what she does is she takes in the world's productivity energy all day, every day. And obviously in a family of like, also she's surrounded by 2 generators and 2 man-gens. She basically needs time to like flush that out, to
reset
her system, so that she can come back to how she is, which is not like that.
Just so pure as fuck. Angel energy.
She's fab. And what she'll have her whole life, which obviously you can't see now and it probably won't be visible until much later, but she's always going to have a young energy in her life. So even when she's like 60, people are going to see her do things with a child's mind in a youthful way, in a very light way, because everything for her, like if she can go through life seeing everything as if for the first time, that's how you'll know that she's like living her design, because that's like her whole thing. And then like the main reason that she's here, she actually has what's called a transpersonal karma. So your 2 older kids have a personal karma, which means it's kind of like a selfish life, and that's not a bad thing, but it's about really like them fixing themselves and their worth and being the star of their own show and having like blinkers on a bit. Whereas like her, she really came back for other people. And actually her favorite thing in life is going to be like coming up with creative solutions for other people of like how to do things better. And like, that's what she's going to like get off on, basically. Like there are always people that are less introspective and more just like, I want to help you and I have an idea for you and this would be that and blah, blah, blah. But because she's a projector, it's interesting because she'll see things really early on, but you'll have to teach her how to basically only give advice when people are asking. Because sometimes when you're a projector, the shadow side of being a projector is like, I know how to fix you and I know what you should do and blah, blah, blah. But actually you can only really help people when there's space in them to even know something different. So you have to basically like
wait to be asked.
Yeah.
Amazing.
But it's really fascinating because what's also interesting about her, where your other kids have like their gut that they can always listen to, she is someone who's going to need to bounce off of other people what she thinks. So my other half is like this too. And he basically, let's say for example, like an opportunity comes up, he can think as much as he wants in his head about this is telling me this and this makes sense and but those people can only tell how they actually feel when they discuss it with someone else.
Is it D like this? What is the trait that you're seeing that says that?
No. So he is, let me see. So it's interesting because he has a strong gut, right? And he knows how to do that. But part of what his, part of where the conditioning in the world has got to him is that you need to know, like, it's like because he's supposed to kind of know that there's fine, like not to have a sense of direction.
Because he knows this stuff intuitively, but you're saying like the universe kind of...
He knows this stuff. He knows exactly what he needs to be doing. He knows exactly what he needs to be doing. But where his conditioning has really got into him is like, you need to have a sense of direction. And he doesn't. He's actually stronger when he doesn't. But with Noah, basically, she will need someone who she can bounce her ideas off of. Where, like, let's say, for example, she's thought that something was a good idea. And so she's telling you by, like, talking herself into it. Like, it sounds like a really good idea, and I feel like it's a good idea. But you'll be able to be like, yeah, but your tone doesn't really make it sound like you're that convinced.
Seeing her, helping her see herself.
Because she won't be able to see herself. So she can intellectualize, like, oh, I think it's a terrible idea and this and that. But you're like, yeah, but you kind of sound like you still really want to do it, though. You know, like, that's who she's going to need the most, more than anything, is like someone to be like, yeah, but I don't know, like from hearing you speak about it, you're kind of into it or you're not into it, basically. But those people are so rare. It's our society doesn't have any modeling for people like this. Who, you know, everyone, even in the spiritual space, is like, you know, inside and and sometimes it's like, actually, you just need people to be like, yeah, you're really into it, or no, you're not. You know, so she's sweet that way. And so, you know, the more you allow her to not have the answers herself, actually, will be better. Because she'll just be able to just be fluid and bounce things off of people and like just understand.
I love that. So sweet.
It's really fab.
Any other takeaways about any of it with
Yes.
in regards to parenting?
Yes, with her, something super important is that there's something funny about the timing of her day that is unlike other people. So she'll either be like a really morning person or a night owl, or she'll want a nap in the day, or she'll want to take her time in the morning or not do anything. There's something funny about the timing of her life where like the 9 to 5 is really not going to suit her. So if you can kind of like try and tap into which one she is, and maybe if she's a night owl, then maybe like enforcing bedtime is like a bad thing. Like my sister has this, for example. And
she actually goes to bed really late.
Perfect.
So interesting. She like, you know, sometimes if she's extra tired, like when we're out in the world doing things, she'll be extra tired and she'll sleep like 7 to 7. But her normal like thing is taking an evening nap and then going to bed at 9, and then she'll sleep all night long.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So, and that's something that she'll always have in her life. And what that is again, it's not a coincidence. It's not for some stupid no reason. It's very much that life is putting her back on path with her divine timing. So let's say, for example, that when she's older, she's going to want to send emails or whatever the equivalent will be when she's older, like at 11 p.m. at night. But if she's sitting there going, oh no, I should send emails at like normal business hours, then how do you know that person is not supposed to receive that email until late at night?
Yeah.
You know, like, we don't know why we have inklings to do the things we need to do, but if we listen to them, life just pans out better.
Sure.
You know, and you can only see that by doing things that are more according to how you actually are just built. You know?
How you're really feeling in that moment.
Yeah. And so for her, like, yeah, sure. Like I'll do my work at 2 a.m. Why not? Like who says that I need to be anything else?
Yeah.
So that's really like her thing. The other thing that's kind of cool is that she has, I call it like a cover of grace on her, which means that basically, it's like a lot of actors and actresses have this too. Like people will always see her as doing things in like a beautiful, graceful, interesting way. Even if to her, it feels like shit's hitting the fan internally, it's an important thing that is going to draw people towards her because they're just going to see her as like beautiful and easy and sweet. And even if it doesn't feel like that on the outside, that's going to be the thing that people kind of like look at her as being this role model. And she's going to be this role model of like being someone that always needs to like find out why and find out how and bring people to the answers. So even if she doesn't have the answers herself, that's going to be the way people perceive her. And that's what's important. Because that's going to be the way that she shares wisdom with the rest of the world. People are going to say, oh, you seem to have answers. There's something about you that feels like you have answers. Even if she doesn't in the moment, it doesn't matter because that's the draw that people are going to like be brought into her.
Yeah.
The thing I would say is like really important for her is in terms of her conditioning is that she has a wide open spleen, like the most radically open spleen you can have. And that is someone who's not supposed to function on fear or even a healthy sense of fear. Like let's say, for example,
like I was explaining, like I wonder if I have that. Do I have an open, because I cannot function with fear in my life.
And all it means is that she'll be very, very prone to picking up anxiety just from being out in the world.
Yeah.
Because so many people are just not dealing with their own fears that it's kind of like going into the soup, and that means that she can pick that up.
Yeah.
For you, what you have in terms of your fear is that, so you have a strong spleen, it's interesting because it's not like a strong spleen always means this and an open spleen always means this. Because you have a strong spleen, you cannot buffer other people's fears. So with you, the only fears you really had to like work on in terms of your own stuff was like the fear of being your highest, most powerful self was something that you came back with. And then also like running out of time. So like sometimes people putting time pressures on you or whatever, activating like, if I don't, that kind of like making you tight and anxious inside. But because you have a strong spleen, you're able to buffer the external fears more, the world's fears, and be like, no, that's just your shit. Whereas she'll be like very
vulnerable. Yeah. Okay.
And so she can become either the wisest, like she can either become the wisest person or she can become super fearful and super, but it's not really who she is. It's not really supposed to, like for you, overcoming those fears actually made you better.
Right.
Whereas for her, fear actually just isn't a constructive thing. It's going to like totally like burn her out. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So,
that's so fascinating.
Yeah. And so it's just really interesting how, there isn't this like, okay, well, you're supposed to be, no one's supposed to be fearful, but there are certain people that come back as souls that have a certain fear that they can then going to use or transform to make them fear less. We're all supposed to get to the same place.
Yeah.
Just that we choose different things to come back with or not come back with, depending on how we're going to get there.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
rather than like, oh, I'm fearless and you're fearful,
Yeah. There's no right and wrong.
No.
Again,
Yeah.
we'll come back to it again. Thank you so much. I want to talk to you forever, but
Yeah,
I don't
me
want to take
too.
your time.
I want to forever as well.
So we'll have you back for sure, and we'll do more fun things. We'll get questions from everyone, and maybe we'll do a live or something.
Yeah.
But for now, we want to just ask you, we always ask our guests 5 questions.
Okay.
So the first one is, what is the best advice that you ever have received?
The best advice is you never know what's going on in other people's shoes. Because I think I personally got so hung up in trying to understand like how someone's doing why and this and what, and they're just saying this because of this and blah, blah, blah. And then it just causes you so much unnecessary stress to even worry about it, and actually just realize that you have no clue. Like, what a relief that is. And you can just sit and observe for what you see and leave the rest.
I love that. Beautiful. What has been your proudest moment to date?
Oh my gosh. I think because in a previous life, not a previous life like this life.
Yeah.
I was running 2 businesses. Like I had 2 companies that I was like running. And that's mostly because of the conditioning that I had that was telling me that you are only like a good human being if you like start a business and do these things and push and force and whatever. And having this come into my life and having this take off so quickly and so effortlessly, without me having to try and push it, my proudest moment was actually being able to give up my previous 2 businesses and saying like, I don't mind if people are going to judge me or think that's bad or think that that's a failure. Like I literally just don't care because I now have my lane and I know what I'm supposed to be doing.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
You had a food-based business, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I had a food business and I just put so much of my value and my worth into that. And so being able to finally get to a place where I realized that doesn't give me anything or doesn't make me a good human being or a worthy human being. Cool. Like I was so proud of myself for that. I was like, yeah. Fine.
And again, that's another coming back to, this is why it's so important to just know more tools, know more parts of who you are, because it gave you a permission slip, right? Like you listening to this part in your life was like, okay, I'm gonna lean into this because it feels good. It doesn't feel like I'm forcing anything.
But why wait for a human design reading or anything else or a guru or a whatever? Like, why don't we just give ourselves permission slips all freaking day long?
Yeah.
Like, what if we just lived in a world where we did that?
Yeah.
Like, how far would that be?
I'm ready. Right? Let's do this.
Me too.
What's the hardest moment that you've had in any respect?
The hardest? I mean, there's been so many. I guess one that I can kind of think about, I think actually deciding that I'm not ready to get married and I'm not ready to have kids, even though I'm 31 and that's what society is like telling me I should want.
Yeah.
I had this epiphany recently where I was like, oh wow, I just don't want them. And the second I decided I didn't want them and that was okay, my boyfriend says to me, we need to move for tax reasons and we can't I don't want to have kids for the next 5 years and we need to live a life that's a lot more on the road. And I was like, okay, sure, great. But I know that only happened once I got to the place of being like, there's nothing wrong with me that I'm not dying to have children or dying to get married or even know that this is the person I'm supposed to be with forever. And that's fine. But it was really hard because I genuinely thought there was something wrong with me for the longest time.
Well, because of society.
Yeah.
Not because
the conditioning.
Oh, wow.
I know. What a weight off the shoulders.
Yeah. How freeing.
I know.
It's beautiful. What do you do for self-care? Like share with us, like what works for you? What's something that either on a daily basis or weekly or something that brings you back to you?
I envisage my like most grown up, most in charge, most like sure, certain self talking to my baby self, my young self that's like really like lost and uncertain. And I literally just have a conversation between the 2 sides of me and say, I have your back. We're going to be fine. You've got this. You're worthy. We're going to do this together and it's all going to be okay. And that's the only consistent thing I do for self-care. Because if I'm not liking myself, then the baths and the crystals and the meditation, none of that's actually going to fix the fact that if I'm not okay with myself, if I don't have my own back. So that's the one thing, if I'm ever feeling triggered or annoyed or happy or sad or fearful or worried or whatever, I just make sure that my higher self or my better self has my unbetter self, and I have my own back. And that's the only thing that I like hold myself to.
I love that. I have my own back.
Yeah.
Because who else will?
Literally.
If you don't, who
You're
else
screwed.
will? You're fucked. Last question. This is called Ignited. What ignites you?
Oh, wow. What ignites me is seeing people for who they are and accepting people for who they are, and just not needing to live in this ideal of, I think, what the world is going through, and being able to participate on that just on a personal level, forget professional, but just on a personal level of just being like, we're just all different. And it's so fascinating that we're all different. And it's cool that we don't all have to be the same. Like, oh, yeah, I just live for that.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, and how cool that you have now a life that's made up of helping people accept themselves.
And I think it was the medicine I needed the most. Yeah. You know?
Just to see people get that permission slip. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here for us. Where can everyone find you?
Just my website is jennazoe.com. And so I have a lot of video that we bring out about how to know different parts of your human design. Because like I was saying to you, I think so much of the information is really damning and really literal. So through my interpretation, what you know the charts tell me to say, we've just done videos on like purpose and career, and we have others on different things. We're going to bring out relationships and.
Is this partnered with Lacey?
No, this is all
Awesome.
So this is all like if you want to know about how you're supposed to be eating for your type and how you're supposed to digest life, and how you're supposed to use your energy type, how you're supposed to work for your energy type, all these different things, how you use your energy differently. So that's all on my website, jennazoe.com. And then I'm just Jenna Zoë Daily on Instagram. And
perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Really easy to
We'll
find.
put it in the show notes. Perfect. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Mwah.
Mwah.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to the Ignited podcast. We were so happy to have you along for this ride. Please go and subscribe to this. Leave us a review. We love hearing from you. And if you want more, don't forget to go to ignited.com, where all the podcast episodes are available with show notes and so many of the little details and links from each one of these interviews. And you can look at all the future events that we have going on, all the things that make Ignited so special, even beyond this recording. Again, thank you so much for joining us. We will see you next week.